I want to introduce Keith Mason and Shayne Campbell, who are our coaches at Guelph University. It is the last one that we are doing for the time being. And I left the best for last as the two gentlemen that know the game quite well. They know the university landscape very well. And I'd like to leave it all up to them to talk to you about life at Guelph.
Well, thanks a lot, Dave. I know I can speak for Keith in this regard too, that we're really excited and pleased to be here and be able to present to you. I think there's, you know, I've known Keith a long time too, and you know, Keith's been on both the men's and women's side of the game. And one thing I would like to share with all of the players on the call is that part of our presentation tonight will be really providing the opportunity for us to talk. And I think in presentations such as these, it's a really great opportunity to really access and ask questions of the coaches. So I'll encourage all of you as we go through a little intro here, that once we're done that, I think we'd really love it if we create that dialogue and you start to ask some really good questions, and we can, you know, maybe move from there, because so often you don't have the opportunity, and it's hard to find these opportunities to talk. So so maybe what we'll do, Keith, if it's cool with you, maybe we'll just, you want to just do a little quick intro, a little bit of background and on yourself a little bit, and then I'll do the same. And then Dave, if it's okay to share, we do have a little overview of the campus that we'd like to show them.
Yeah.
Keith, you want to do that?
Yeah, sure. Thank you all for listening. It's great to see you all. I got a great view of 2 full pages here. This is really cool. And when I started coaching at the university many years ago, we didn't have this kind of platform where I could look at so many potential recruits all in one go. And it's really, really cool to see. Everything back in those days was done on paper, done by phone call, and done by visiting and knocking doors. But it's really cool what the world's brought to us. And I've been at Guelph. I started with a women's coach back in 1989. That sounds like a long, long time ago, and it is. That's 32, 33 seasons of training camps I've had now at the university level. I'm now been on the men's side for over 20 years. I really love what I'm doing. We've brought Guelph from a team I talk on the men's side now. Like, we used to have a real good women's team, and then it went through a little bit of a dip, and then it came back up to where it is now. But I'll let Shayne talk about that. But on the men's side, we've really become one of the top programs in the country. We've been here since the last 8-9 years. We've been consistently ranked in the top 10 university soccer programs on the men's side in Canada. And we won Ontario's in 2016. 2019, we were the bronze medalists. We're consistently knocking on that door of the Final Four. And I'm hoping that sometime tonight I can help you with any questions you may have on the men's side of coming to the University of Guelph. In Guelph, and Shayne's going to show you a presentation shortly, but in Guelph we got an amazing school. Academically, it's very good. It loves sports. Like, Guelph really, really loves sports. And in 2019, we actually were, University of Guelph was the #1 athletic program in Canada. That's all sports added together. So what they do is they rank based on where teams finish on your athletic program. And we were ranked #1 in 2019 after our women's hockey team won the gold medal of Canada. It pushed us to the top ranked school. And it's something we're all proud of. What does that really mean? It means that we have an athletic department that not only is there to ensure you all get your degree, all graduate and successful in the classroom, but they also care about what they do on the field of soccer or the court for other sports. So it's a great school to be in, and I'm lucky. I went there in many years ago, and they just can't get rid of me, and I just keep coming back. And and I plan to keep coming back for a few more years yet. So Shayne, over to you.
Yeah, I think, and I love the enthusiasm, and you know, it's always great. Keith has so many stories and has so much wisdom that he gets to share with all of us. And so, just you know, I think a big thing for all the players is, you know, Keith has mentioned he's been in the game for quite a number of years, and you can see the passion and the enthusiasm still in him. And I think that's one of the things that you see across the campus is just the enthusiasm and all of the coaches and the camaraderie amongst all of the Griffin athletes and teams. So I've been really fortunate. I went to Guelph. I've sort of been in Guelph for a little while. I had the opportunity to work through as an assistant on the women's side. Had the privilege of becoming the head coach 4 years ago. You know, I've had a really good few years based upon the people that are around and the people that are part of the program. And we just want to continue that. We want to continue to create a program that is strong and that is sustaining and continues to compete at the highest level. But also, most importantly, is going to have student athletes graduate and become the best version of themselves. So I think those are things that are really important and ones that we share. And as Keith said, it's really nice for both of us, like, you know, to be in a spot in time where both programs keep pushing each other, and it's great. And so we're really fortunate to be in that spot. What we're going to show you here is just a little bit of an overview, because maybe some of you have never had a chance to get to campus. And I've just asked Dave here just briefly. I'm going to try, and I have it sort of on Zoom that it works out well. I just want to make sure that the sound and all that comes through. So I may start and stop just to check. But if Dave gives me a thumbs up, sort of, then we'll, if you just message me there, Dave, and as long as it goes okay, then we'll try and give you a bit of a sense of our campus, and then we can talk a little bit about the programs, some of the scholastic and academic programs, and then we'll get into a Q&A with you. Okay.
Perfect.
Let me see if I can share this.
You got it in the top left-hand corner under share.
Yeah.
And then share content.
Okay. Oh, hang on a sec. So share content.
Yeah.
First, I just got to find the screen here. Let's see if this is the one. No.
Sometimes the audio works on certain presentations. Sometimes it doesn't. Okay. But as long as the presentation's there, I'll let you know if the sound comes through. If it doesn't, you can talk over it. Just tell them what they're looking at.
Okay. Let me just see if this will share here. Let's see if that.
Just wait for it to load up.
Just don't know if this is.
If you share just the same screen that we're all on, and then you can just use it as a laptop. Here we go.
You see something now, Dave?
Yeah, your recruitment video is about to start.
Okay. Okay, here we go. So I'll just see from a volume perspective. Here we go. Let's see if this works.
So we can see the campus. It's just no audio.
So that's the alumni stadium. That's downtown Guelph. That's our famous cannon. We can tell you about that later. This is our beautiful campus in the spring. Johnston Hall is one of our oldest residents. Obviously our science building. Too bad about the music. It's good music too.
Yeah. I still haven't figured out why it doesn't always work for some on the audio.
You can see the Griffin Pride there, and that's, you see that both on the university students and many of the community members all wear the Guelph Griffin. We're very, very much supported by the community. It's trying, isn't it?
How many fans are you guys averaging now?
It varies on the game. I mean, when we have, that's at the soccer complex, by the way, for those who haven't seen it. Like obviously when we have school day and bigger events like that, it bumps up our average a little bit, you know, because we can get up to 1,000 students at our school event. But I would say on average we get probably 200 to 300, something like that.
Well, that's good.
It's gone off now, Shayne.
Yeah, okay, no problem. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull up, there's a, I can get that, I can get that as a YouTube link. I'll send that off, Dave. I'll send that off, and
Perfect.
then you can, so that, because I agree with Keith, there's a lot of stuff in that that's narrated, I think would be very helpful. So we can do that.
Okay.
So I'll maybe start, and then Keith can jump in, and then we can just start to, maybe take the questions that you all have. The University of Guelph is really strong in a number of academic areas. So, any of the sciences, you're amongst the top institutions in the country. Our criminal justice and public policy program is a really unique one because it also has not only the criminology side of it, but it has the public policy side, which is a very unique part of the campus. The New Lang Business School is really starting to change the look of business. I think for years, many of you would know that Ivy would be the place for business, but now more than ever on recruits that are asking are talking about the International Sports Management Institute that's at the University of Guelph alongside of the Lang Business School. And they're changing the way the businesses look. Their tag is, business for good. And I think it's really changing and resonating with a lot of all of you who are younger people and from a younger generation. Certainly, psychology and social sciences are strong too. Those are I would say, are the main buckets of our academic areas. If you wanted to go into nursing, we are likely not the strongest school to go into for nursing, as an example. And in amongst that, I think he touched on it. The other thing that I would suggest about Guelph is that it is a university town. We are not sort of a small part of a large city. It really is the hub and heartbeat of the city of Guelph. And I think that makes it unique because people come in there all of the time, and it becomes a place where the community come to be part of many aspects of campus life, which I think is a bit unique. The campus is green, as you can see. It's safe, it's walkable. So you can be in any part of the campus and you can get to the team rooms within 15 minutes of a walk. Even if you're on the far end of campus, our home fields are another 5-minute walk up. And I think that is something that's a real advantage to all of our current student athletes, that they can get from practice, get to the library, and do all of those things that are necessary on a day-to-day. They don't have to take a drive to get to the field. And I think that's it's massive. I know from a coaching perspective, the feedback you can give your athletes, the amount of time that you can spend with them is not lost in transportation. So that's a real big thing. Last thing I'll say, then I'll pass it over to Keith, is that we're always looking for good people to join in as well. There are many talented soccer players, many. And so many of the next generation of young players have had such good coaching, and all of you can play. But the thing that I would challenge all of you on is, what are you going to add to the team environment? How are you going to improve the team environment? What unique thing are you going to bring that is going to add, not just on the field, but off the field? Because we all spend a lot of time together. And it's a really important thing. Varsity athletics is not for the faint of heart. If you're looking for a backpack, it's the wrong place to be, and certainly, in my perspective, the wrong program to apply to. It's something that you're in and that you're dedicated to, and that you really want to give everything to be part of. It means something to you. Keith, do you want me to throw it over, and if you want to highlight a little bit more on the men's side at all, or we can throw it open for some Q&A to start?
I know. I'll just add that I touched base a little bit on the athletic side of things. Shayne talked about the academics. We do have a program called SAM. It's a student athlete mentorship program just for varsity athletes. That program, all first years are required to attend. It's an academic support system in order to help you as first years to settle into the university environment and to, above all, ensure success of our varsity athletes. It's the mentors that work there it's a paid position. They're all former athletes that all current athletes, either or, and they know exactly what everybody's going through, and it's a real good resource. And because of that, or one of the reasons I believe is we have a fantastic success rate in our graduation. We're not just looking for players to come and play for 1 year and then maybe academically they're no longer with us. We're looking for success on the field as well as off the field. It's really critical that we have that balance student athlete. The athletic department, we also have a program for residents where our varsity athletes get to stay in residence if they want to. They don't have to. It's optional, but they can stay in residence with just other varsity athletes, which is a real cool program because you're with like-minded people, and it really helps on all the benefits of student life, where the people around you are doing the same as you are. So on a Friday night, they might be preparing for a game just like you are, not thinking it's party time, it's Friday, right? So it's a real cool part of the university program we have. And our facilities are second to none. Our athletics facilities, I'll quickly talk about those. In the last 10 years, since I've been there, they've gone from what I would describe as cow pastures to the beautiful fields that we have now. They are absolutely fantastic. And our department's really put, and the student body has really put a lot into the facilities, finalizing with a brand new athletic facility that just opened in 2016, just 4 or 5 years ago. The athletic center is fantastic. So we've got a rounded program for a rounded athlete. It's really, really cool. And, you know, hopefully some of you may one day be playing for us and get to see what being a Griffin's all about, you know, and I'm happy to take any questions that you may have.
Okay, so I'll monitor the chat room for who would like to ask a question. So Hader, you have the first question.
Hi, coaches. My name is Harry Fozzi. I'm part of the U16, U17 OPL team. I'd first like to thank you for coming on and spending your time to talk to us. And my question is, why is Guelph such a powerhouse?
That's a great question. That's a great question. You know what? I think it's a couple of things we've just talked about. But the big one for me is the dedication of the athletic department, dedication of all the coaches, and the dedication of the athletes into what they bring. And being a good program doesn't just happen by, it's not a fluke. It happens by hard work. And there's a lot of hard work that goes behind the scenes in recruiting the right players, right? Getting the right facilities, having the right coaches, and bringing it all together. So for me, the reason that we're a powerhouse is that the dedication to excellence that we have at the University of Guelph within our department. Shayne?
Yeah, no, well said, Keith. I just would, I'd echo all of that. I think it's just well said, and I would follow that up for sure.
So while we wait for the next question, Shayne, Keith, I know that each of the departments has a certain average that you need to do to apply to their respective departments. But what's the average right now, grade point average, to get into Guelph University on average?
Well, look, I think if you're talking many of the science-based programs, you need to be in the 80s to really start there, for the most part. If you're going into some of the specialized programs, then you need to, I think, have a sort of an equivalent specialized type of mark, where your grade point average is high, high 80s, low 90s for some of those specialized programs. If you're interested in, some of the more general or a Bachelor of Arts, then sometimes you can, sometimes a high 70 will get you there. But it's a very competitive university to get into. And oftentimes our acceptances go out a bit later than some of the other schools. And that's simply because of the rounds of offers that it takes to get to that point. Keith, would you concur with that?
Yeah, I definitely, it also tells you the importance that you as student athletes think about that as you do your planning for your universities coming up. And I think a lot of student athletes start thinking about it when they're halfway through grade 12, and it's a little bit too late sometimes. You need to start thinking way before then. And grade 11s your grades in grade 11, your marks in grade 11 are really important, because at Guelph, all our first round of offers are mainly based on grade 11s only. So to get in early, you need a good grade 11 mark. So don't leave it too late. Think about it. Know how important it is to start working on those grades right away. But yeah, the Bachelor of Arts, by the time it gets to the last round of offers, is usually around 76, 77, something like that.
Okay. All right, guys, get ready for Kiva's question.
Hi, coaches. My name is Kiva, and I play for the 2008 girls team. And my question is, other than performance on the field, what other things are you looking for in your players?
Well, thank you for the question. I'll start. Two simple things for me: a commitment to improve and a desire to learn. And I think those two things sort of cover all of the things that I would want from a player. The desire to learn in the classroom, to continue their journey academically, a commitment to improve, and that's on and off the field, being a good teammate, getting involved with the community, taking care of even things down. Most people think about when you think about the hard work, everyone thinks about the sweat on the field. But Keith and I were just talking about this the other day. Are you someone who has watched the film that's been put out there? And that's part of the work and the commitment to improve. Are you watching the game film? Are you asking coaches, for some feedback? And I think all of those things. So that's how I'd break it down. Commitment to improve and a desire to learn would be the two general things without getting into all the specific buckets. Keith?
Yeah, and I would like to add to that, because that is a great question. And a big one for me is attitude. The attitude of the individual, the attitude of the player. You could be the best player in the world, but with the wrong attitude, and I know attitude can be broad, but I'm talking about the attitude you're going to bring to the field. Are you going to fit our culture? We want people that's going to, when we travel and get on a bus and go to our games, when we get home, people are going to go, wow, those Guelph Griffins are good. They're good people as well as good players. And so that's what I'm talking about in attitude. So I love meeting players. So I can get to find that out. But we also can see it in the game. We can also see it in these showcases. OPDL, when it comes to Guelph, we go to watch the games, right? And you as players show a lot about your attitude in everything you do. What happens when you lose the ball, or what happens if something negative happens in the game, which is going to happen all the time. So the negative of whatever that negative is in the game is not the issue, it's how you react to it, right? And if a player's giving up and shaking their heads or yelling and swearing at referees, it just sends out wrong messages. So always be careful about how you present yourself, because you want to present yourself as that person we all want, because it's competitive out there, and you got to sell yourself accordingly. But attitude is a big one for me.
Okay, Shayne, Keith, I've got a question for you. So at the club right now, we're looking at the way that we operate and changing the club culture in a new dynamic way of what we're looking for in our players. That's why these calls are for all our players that are in grade 9 to grade 12. And even in fact, some of the grade 8s are in there because, you know, some of the U13s are still in grade 8. So what I'd like to know is, what advice could you give them while they're in high school playing youth soccer to prepare for university life in soccer? What could they do now that will have a bigger impact in the way that they can handle the trials and the tribulations, the highs and the lows of being at the university level and playing?
Well, I think that's a loaded question. I mean, there's a lot they could certainly do, and it's certainly a loaded question. But I think your day-to-day habits in everything you do, on the training pitch, at school, at home with your family, just make sure you get your day-to-day habits right, and that'll include your time management, right? Like, the coach shouldn't have to say to you, if a practice starts at 6:30, why you're here at 6:45? You should be there at 6:30, right? So day to day, get those things right. Start working from them, because it's never too early, and it certainly can be too late for you if you wait too long. Shayne?
Yeah, and I think and write down what you want to do. You know, like put something ahead of you that you can refer to every day. And that's fine. It can be corny. I'm okay with it. I think you should really, you know, Keith's day-to-day habits is a huge point. And then what allows you to keep doing those day-to-day habits is that you look ahead and you say, hey, I've got this. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to be. And it's about you. It has nothing to do with anybody else, not your good friends, not even your parents, not your aunts, uncles. It's about you. And if you want something like that, then you have to put a beacon ahead, give yourself a lighthouse, give yourself a direction. And then it's a lot easier when you have that kind of mission behind you to guide all the decisions. So when Keith talks about those daily habits, you'll know, I gotta help out here. You know, I'm home. I'm gonna help my folks out. I gotta just do that extra little question and do that math help at lunch hour. Because who you are off the field should align, you know, and on the field. Those shouldn't be two different kinds of people. That how you operate should be consistent. So give yourself a lighthouse, give yourself something to point towards. And then that will help you with those day-to-day decisions.
And Dave, just to finish up on that, because if you do all those things that Shayne and I have talked about, then when it comes to making that decision, because it'll be the biggest decision of your life, but where am I going to university? So at that stage of your life, it'll probably be the biggest decision you've made up to that point, right? And you want control of that decision. So how do you have control of that decision? Is by making sure you've done all those day-to-day preparing correctly, so that now your academics are good. So every school you can get in. It's not, well, I got to go here because my grades don't get me there. Like, if you get your grades right, then you get to pick wherever you want to go, right? Then if you get your day-to-day habits right of being on time, working hard at practice, having the commitment to the sport, all those things, then coaches want you too. So now you get to pick. You get to pick because you have control. Where I know some student athletes who they end up going to a school because that's all they can get into by the time they get to that point because they haven't prepared properly. So I just would like to add that to it too, Dave.
No, that's terrific, Keith. That's terrific. Adam, you want to ask your question?
Hi, coaches. I'm Adam Sheikh from 2006 OPDL. And my question for you is if you can describe your training per week and how it would like affect my schoolwork if I want to maintain a good average.
Oh, first of all, I'll start. Shayne, I'm sorry, I'm quicker. See?
No, go, man. Go. It's good. It's good.
You got the foot on the pedal there, Keith. I see how it works.
I do. But there's two things I'll say to that. First of all, like our grade, our team academic grade last year was around about a 72. And you might think, well, 72, what's that like? The general student population was around 69. So the fact we were higher than the general student population, when you think of the commitment the varsity athletes pull into the sports, it's quite amazing. And as Shayne said earlier, it's not for the faint of heart. You're not coming here just to go through the motions. It's a big commitment. We train every day. You know, we usually have Monday off, but the Monday off is a recovery day. So you're still expected to do your recovery workout. You're still expected, you know, sometimes we'll do that recovery workout together as a team. If you haven't played on the weekend, you might not get that Monday off. We may bring you in to keep you at the same level as everyone else, right? But a general rule of thumb, a Monday will be off. Tuesday is normally an heavier day of some technical and fitness work, and then you start working towards game day and game preparation with some tactical stuff and set pieces. But the whole week is structured so that everybody is at peak, hopefully, for the weekend game, right? And if we play Friday, Sunday, then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is all about Friday's game. And then Saturday's a bit of a mixture for us on the men's side. I don't want to speak on Shayne's behalf, but we tend to, whoever's played a lot Friday will do a recovery session on Saturday. And who didn't play Friday will get a real good, intense, 6v6, 7v7. And it's short, it's sweet, but it keeps them at the level we need for the game on Sunday. So we're very aware of the fact academics are important, and there's no doubt about that. And academics will always come first at the University of Guelph. For every sport, academics will always come first. But the players have the commitment. The players, they want to be there. I'm not forcing them. They want to be there because they love it so much. And they come, they work hard, and they're very successful. But they have to sacrifice other things that maybe other university students might do, like going out and partying and doing things that you just don't have time to burn the candle at both ends. So you've got to be committed, academics, soccer, and you can do well. And my last point, often my athletes do better during season, which is fall, than they do in the winter when they've got a little bit more time on the hands, because they tend to procrastinate more. Well, in the fall, they have to be very organized, and it's, they have practice, they have the SAM program, they have the academics, and there you go. There's their full week. And it turns out pretty good for us.
Shayne, you want to elaborate on anything on the girls'
I think
side?
it's good. I would say the same. Definitely the fall experience. All the players will tell you the fall experience. They they just do better in school, Adam, because they just know that they have a block of time to get to the library to do the work. So I totally concur with Keith there, and I think you can do it. And the other thing you have to remember is that you're with a family of 25 other people who are doing coursework, and you have senior players on the teams that are going to say, hey, when you're doing that lab or you've got that paper for that professor, they're already going to help you through that process. So combining athletics and academics often is a good marriage, because there are lots of people to help you, even internally on the team.
Okay.
And Adam, you say you're OPDL, did you say?
Oh yeah.
So how often as an OPDL player are you currently practicing a week?
3 times a week right now.
Sorry, was that 3?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've got 3 times a week, and normally I'm not talking COVID days. I'm talking a normal year. You got 3 times a week. You've got your game. So there's 4 days that you're already committed to the sport, and maybe you do things as well in those other days. So you're already well on your way to proving you've got that commitment, right? So now it's just keep working hard at it, man.
Okay. Alexa, you want to ask your question?
Hi, coaches. My name is Alexa Hardy. I play for the League One Reserve Women's team. And my question for you guys is, how long does the season last, and what does the typical winter program look like?
Well, the season will, you can imagine the season, you'll come in training camp, and we'll just talk generally. Late August, you'll come into training camp. And then from that time on, you'll be part of, a 6-7 day a week program, as Keith described, right up until about the second week in November. And I use the second week in November because if you're playing in the second week in November, generally you're at nationals, which is a great thing. So I think in all coaches' minds, we always see the season as that side to that side, because you want to be in that and have that opportunity to go. As we finish off at the last game of nationals, whether it's men's or women's, that usually culminates the end of the official competition window. At the University of Guelph, we have a mandatory 2-week hiatus for the team when the last sort of match happens. That's just to give the athletes some time to obviously decompress. It's a real busy, hectic schedule. And then we'll have the players back in for some indoor stuff in and around and up till the time they get exams. And then around exams, it becomes in December, become a little bit optional, and then they're on their way home. In the winter, we'll come back in, and you'll have a 5-day-a-week sort of robust program. Obviously, the time is not quite as much in terms of absolute terms. You're not traveling to a number of games, but generally speaking, there will be competition, each week in some formats. And I'm sure Keith will elaborate on that side of things. But you're lifting in a strength and conditioning unit in our Griffin Performance Center. You're training in the field house, and that's generally a mix of 5 days a week. Keith, anything to add in there?
No, I think you've answered it really well, and we've just got our own League One teams here, Alexa, in Guelph as well, both on the women and on the men's side. We'll have 2 teams, and for us, we see it as a perfect mix now of that year-round student athlete experience. Not that all our League One players will be the university, because they go to the hometowns or somewhere out of province or whatever, but at least we've got that opportunity, especially for the local guys and girls who can play now in a true year-round program, and we find that really good. The winter, the jet semester, January to April, is the more time with our fitness coach. I'm not saying more time than on the field. I'm just saying that's when he becomes more prevalent, and they also give you a summer program. It's all based on, it's all done on an app. It's a real good program, and gone are the days. There used to be, Dave, many years ago, where a lot of programs had a full season and then it ended, you know, and they did nothing for their athletes for the rest of the year. And, you know, we used to go once a week in the winters, you know. Now we're 4 or 5 times a week, even in the wintertime. So
Yeah,
really,
it's amazing that from when we were coaching against each other at the university level, how much more. It's almost like I'm jealous now of what you guys have, where you're competing with multi-million-dollar complexes. You have full staff availability, new change rooms, new fields. You know, I remember coming to Guelph when we were playing on the cow patch, and you know, there's no way you guys were going to make any possession play. It was a long ball to the front person, and off you go.
that's
Now,
right.
now it seems like you're ready to play and moving the ball around and stuff, and that's all
Yeah.
because the athletic director gave you a new field.
Well, it's exactly it. It's exactly it. And I actually remember that conversation when he sat me down in his office one day, and I tell everybody this because we weren't a winning team back then. And he sat down and he says, "Keith, what do we have to do to start winning around here?" And I said, "Give me proper facilities. I need a field we can pass a ball on. Like we play on the stadium or we train on that side field, and it's like that. Like it was so bumpy, it was terrible.
Yeah.
And we can't play the game. We just can't play the game. And anyway, he did. And after it was finished, he pulled me back in the office. He said, "Okay, no excuses. When you're going to start winning?" And that's exactly what he said to me. And since then, we have won, and we've got medals, and we've improved tremendously. So I think though, Dave, it brings a good point about the whole university, and not just Guelph. The whole structure of the university sport has really become a lot more professional. The way I see it is for most players, not all, because we have CPL on the men's side and that opportunity now. But for most players, this will be the highest level they play. So we want to give them that professional environment, come and play with us and be in that environment. And you can't do that on cow patches for fields and no varsity gyms and you know, no sports doctors. Now we've got everything. We got Health and Performance Center that looks after all our medical needs. We've got Josh Ford and his crew who look after all the fitness side of it. And these are full-time varsity coaches and medical people that's there only for varsity athletes. So it's really come full circle.
No, it's great. It's great to hear that the athletic directors are really spending. I mean, the amount of money I've seen from anywhere from 10 mil to 40 million to raise the standard, and that's the enticement for players to stay in Canada. And that's probably one of the biggest things of doing these conversations now with you as coaches is to educate not only myself, but also being able to present other opportunities for more of the athletes so that they have a better life, you know, and if we can help them become a better person, then, you know, they're going to make a bigger impact in society and in their communities and hopefully leave a footprint that is their own and discover something or create something or just be a better person in their community. So it's really good to see that they can stay home and not have to necessarily always go to school in the United States. So that's good. Listen, is the veterinarian school still one of the top schools, programs in Guelph?
Yeah, we still have a huge vet school. And agriculture, you know, that's how we started and that's how we've grown. We've certainly become a lot more than that. That's certainly what the backbone of this university was, and it's still topping the fields for those programs.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is we're going to see if anybody else has a question, right? So is it like, so what time again do you guys train for practices? Are you guys back to back or are you morning or you evening?
We're usually 5:30 till 7:30, and we're side by side. So those of you who have played at Old Field in the OPPL, know at the soccer complex we have East and West Field side by side, and we train at the same time side by side. Most of the time. Yeah.
Okay, Ria, you have a question?
Hi, coaches. My name is Ria, and I play for the 2007 Girls OPDL. And my question is, what attributes are you looking for in an athlete?
Well, I'll go off, and maybe it's a little bit similar to how I answered before, but I'll add in Keith's attitude for sure. I think beyond the desire, beyond the idea of being committed to improving yourself and a desire to learn, I think there are some other attributes that I would maybe just add in now with this question, as I would say, all the ways that you can be, a good teammate. Are you going to be, will you come in and help to lift the load, so to speak? So we look at that. Keith mentioned about the OPDL on campus, when it's here on campus, and any recruiting events we go to. I'll give you a little short story. Maybe this will summarize it better for everybody. And Ria, if I don't answer the question in this story, please let me know. I will answer it in more detail. But I'm currently recruiting a striker right now. Not for this incoming year, but for the year after. And on top of the fact that I think she's probably one of the, is quite a good striker and made a good name for herself. The number one attribute for me is that anytime she scores a goal, she runs to the players that supported her in making that goal. So it's the first thing that I saw in the video, not the goal, but I saw her reaction to how she celebrated her teammates, which tells me she brings people into the fold. That tells me that she is someone who's unselfish. And then through many, opportunities on Zoom and opportunities to talk, that has really been evidence of the case. So those are the kinds of things that I think from a personality standpoint on the field, I think, some real key things. You have to have someone, you have to be someone who can, have courage on the ball for sure. There's very little time and space in the OUA. So you have to have good technical skill and be courageous on the ball, if I can use that terminology. And the ability to be an intelligent player, to make good decisions inside of the game is critical. And the last thing then I would say is your competitiveness. Are you willing to battle in your 1v1 duels on the field? I think those would be the three on field. Keith, I don't know if you want to sprinkle.
No, I think you've answered it great. I would just add though on the part about on the field too, because I love the part about the willingness to be brave, right? The willingness to be brave. That's so important. But, the acceptance that you're going to make mistakes. Like, don't worry about the fact you're going to make mistakes. How many mistakes I make every day, it's unbelievable, and luckily enough, they bounce off me. But it's the willingness to do the right thing to make that mistake. Because a lot of players will play safe, and their passing stats may be great. At the end of the game, you go, oh, look at that, 99% passing success, great. But everyone was back to the goalie. Like, they never once tried to break the lines. They never once tried to go forward. They never once tried to do anything positive. It was always safe. So don't be frightened of making a mistake. Just learn from it and move on, because we're all going to make them. And mistakes is not the end of the world. The worst thing about mistakes is compounding them by then letting it affect you and bring you down. Then it's a bigger mistake. So, okay. But everything else, I agree with Shayne.
Okay, we got quite a few questions now. So Megan, you want to ask your question?
Actually, I think it's me, but for a reason comes up as.
Oh, Peter, going to school again, are you?
Yeah. How's it going, guys? Appreciate you guys coming on. I coach the 0405 girls at Pickering. I jumped on a little late. I just came home from work, so I apologize if I ask a question that's already been answered by you guys. A couple of things, like at the club, we've done goal setting exercises with the players, and I think it's great that you guys have come on to educate our players about it, because from my experience with my group, almost all of them would prefer to go to a school in Canada, Ontario University, which is, a lot to do with maybe what's going on down south, and also, how much the athletics has improved and the financial part of it. which I think is great. So maybe some of them may be a little bit concerned with what's going on with, with the COVID and maybe the eligibility of players. Like, what happened with that? Did players not, is there players then that didn't lose a year of eligibility? Will that make it more competitive for them? If you could speak to that. And just one other thing too, I noticed you mentioned about the strikers, a video. Did she send in that video? Because I think we're going to do that at the club. And if kids, if the players out there have videos, would you advise them sending it to you and coming up with some highlight clips of their play? So just those two questions, and I'll let you answer it. And thanks again, guys.
Keith?
In terms of the COVID, I'll jump on that one a little bit if I can. And as it affects the recruiting cycle, it has. There's no doubt about it. It has affected the recruiting cycle. Usually, we're pretty clear on who's leaving when and when they need to be replaced. We have that planned out and mapped out through the career of every student. I got a call today. My athlete of the year in Ontario probably is going to come back, even though he's graduated. He wants to take his course, and he didn't finish his eligibility. So I was a bit late on the call because I'm doing a dance because it's got awesome. But that does pose another question, because I've recruited for that spot now. So now he's coming back, which I totally didn't expect, and I've recruited for that spot. So, I think we are going to have a bit of a double cohort there where we're going to realize, we'll carry more than I normally do while that cycle gets back to normal again. So that's sort of the way I'm looking at it. And I'm certainly not going to recruit anybody and then not have them as part of the team. We're going to have a bigger pool, and then if they can learn off this athlete who was in the CPL draft, so they can offer a player of that level, then it's not going to be a bad thing either. It's going to be an awesome thing, actually.
Yeah, and I think to answer your second question, so I concur with everything Keith said, although I haven't had that call today. So maybe I'll dance later. I think I know what Keith's saying, and I understand why he's dancing. If that's the case, he's definitely dancing. I think the other thing, to answer your other question, look, video is always a tricky thing. There's lots of ways to do it. What I would suggest is this, I always think it's important to have some full-length film when you can get it. Obviously, this past cycle has not allowed you to get it. So I think it's always good to have something in the bank that is a full-length, not necessarily because we can always watch all the full-length, but as Keith has mentioned already, we want to see what your reaction is sometimes before and after. If all we ever see is the good stuff, it will be a lead-in to a conversation, no doubt. So a good highlight video that shows us the best parts of you in all of the moments of the game are a good lead-in. But I do think you should always have in your Dropbox, your Drive, you should have some longer length stuff that then can give us context to the highlight video. Because a highlight is just a highlight, and you can clip just about anything. So that's what I'd suggest. And on that note, I think, I'm sure Dave will speak to it more, but standardizing that process and ensuring, because I still get emails that are addressed to Dave McDowell at Queens, but it comes to Guelph, or Barry McLean at Laurier, or Lucio Ianero at Brock, and it's meant for Guelph. So I think, you have to do your research first before you start to reach out and do all of those things. And I think you be real and truthful. And if you're interested in Guelph, your email will indicate that. It'll indicate that you really have a keen interest. But the highlight video is just the lead in, really, truly. We'll want to see much more than that. So I would not personally spend thousands of dollars on a company to make a highlight video. Personally, I think you can cover that off. It's going to come down to what Keith said, the multiple conversations, understanding who are we getting. That's how I would answer that question for you.
And I think on Shayne's point there about personalizing those emails and letters, I really have to emphasize how important that is, because we do get a lot of emails, a lot of video, and sometimes I call it phishing, like the students just phishing. They're sending it to everybody and then seeing who gets back to them, right? But if you get an email or a letter and it says, I really want to come to Guelph because, and you can see they've researched our school, they've researched our soccer team, and they say to me, you won the bronze here, you did this here, and you did that, and you had. They know more how many points we had, and I've forgotten already. So they know more than me sometimes, and it gets my attention and go, yeah, these people are serious. They really want Guelph, and it gives them a slight edge, and the door opens a little bit wider for them.
Okay. Antonio, you have a question.
I just want to thank Megan for that last email. She speaks very deeply. That last question. Sorry, that last question email.
No problem. Thank you.
Antonio, you have a question? Oh, he might have run off to practice. Okay, Dante?
His audio is not working. I can see him talking, it's just not working.
Okay. So do you want to ask yours, and then if he gets it working, he can jump in?
Okay. Hello, my name is Dante. I play for the 06 DRSL boys team.
Hello.
Oh, there's his audio. Antonio, you can ask.
You can go first. It's okay.
Okay. And my question is, how many players do you take on your roster, and how many players do you take to away games?
It's a good question. Every team and every coach has different philosophies, and there's not a wrong or a right way to do it. Personally, on the men's side, I like to keep 26 to 27 players, somewhere like that. 24 is a great number. So 24 to 26 would be my ideal number. We're allowed to dress 18, and we're always going to pick up a couple of injuries usually, and with that smaller number we can really stay focused. We get everybody included, everybody can get minutes and part of the action, right? The away games, don't early on in the season we might ask it a little bit more, especially the local ones if it's Waterloo or Laurier, but I don't particularly ask it of the players. I give them the option for the away games. I just feel, especially the long distance ones, if we're stuck on a bus for a long time and the schoolwork to get done, I'd rather them spend the time doing that than just sitting on a bus. But there are some pluses to it too, though, in terms of everybody feeling part of the team. So it's about getting that balance right, where people don't feel left out if they're not included on the bus. The fact that on long distance, we share a bus with the women, we travel together. It sort of limits the amount of people we can take, which sort of helps that we're not taking you because situation. We just can't take them because there's no room on the bus. But hopefully that answers your question, Dante, from me. Shayne?
Yeah, no, same. I think I would do the same sort of thing. I think, on the women's side, we've tried at the first part of the year to bring as many as we can. And if there's ways that we can get everybody to a game, we will. But as Keith says, as the season goes on, and as soon as you kind of hit midterms, then, it's the same thing. If there are a couple of players that are not going to be dressing or participating, we won't put the extra burden of them having to sit through the whole thing. But early in the season, it's a good team bond to kind of get as many of them going as possible. Yeah, and same sort of numbers, same sort of thing. Sometimes it's hard to put an ideal number because sometimes a player will walk across the field and you just know you got to have them as part of your group. we have a player going into second year of vet college, and Keith knows Mia Kadjua really well, and she was someone we just needed to have. And probably at the time, if you talk about a pure numbers standpoint, did we need the number? Not necessarily, but this young lady just had something that was special and just decided, and she's been with us for a long time. And so I'm with Keith. We have a number, but sometimes we might change that number based upon external factors that come into play.
And Dante, just to follow up on that too, I do like them to be at the home games though. I think the home games, the support of the teammates, the whole picture, I think is important as well. I don't like them missing the home games. I do like them to be there. We often they will get dressed and do something at the end of the game, a little bit of work at the end of just to help keep their fitness levels up as well. But home games is a different scenario.
Okay, and the last question goes to Antonio.
I'm Antonio from the 2006 DRSL boys team, and I was wondering, what's your style of play?
Okay, lovely. Now, it's a good way to end it, right? Antonio, this is a great way. We've had some great questions today, but this is a good way to end it. Because first of all, I'm going to tell you about the game that I love. And I've loved it since I've been 6, 7 years old. And I still have the passion today as I've always had. And that's why I keep doing it. But I love to see goals. First of all and foremost, I like to see goals. So we're a very attacking team, right? We're very attacking. And my philosophy is, we want to keep clean sheets, don't get me wrong. But if the other team scores 2, I'm not going to cry if we score 3. So as long as we outnumber them, I'm happy with that, right? So we want to score goals. But we're very much a possession-based. We press high. We like to press high, out of possession, win it high up the field if we can, which takes a lot of fitness. The players have got to be in good shape for that. But if we're building around the back and we have to be patient, we've got the technique to do it. The long ball game it has a place in every team as far as I'm concerned, but we're definitely not a long ball team. We like to keep the ball. We like to pass. We like to go through the thirds. And I go back to Shayne's point about 20 minutes ago about being brave and getting on the ball. That's why we need those kind of players. Because if you're not brave to get on the ball, then we got to just play long ball. And we don't want to play long ball. We want people that want to get on the ball and play the game. So that's what I'll say. But it's great. Goals are great. I love them. Now, Shayne's a defender. And
no, it's good. Keith and I have this discussion all the time.
We do. We talk about this all the time.
I thought he was in the bus and starting to drive over top of you. There, Shayne.
I'm always saying to Shayne, how do I get those shutouts? And he's always saying to me, how do I score those goals? That's our conversations coming on.
Yeah. So Antonio, it's a great question. It's a great question. It really is. And so I would suggest, for us, we have always been sort of traditionally in the program, even before as I was an assistant program, the head coach before me was he liked, so we still like to play, I would say, like Keith does in terms of trying to play through the thirds. But we've always placed an emphasis on being real blue collar, tough defensively, really hard to break down. You're going to be in a game against us. And that's always been our thing, really compact, difficult to play. And I would say that the evolution of our program will be one as we change sometimes the makeup of our team, which is starting to happen a bit. It's going to open up new opportunities for us to do a little bit more with our attack and our ability to, I think, put pressure on teams in different ways. So it's an evolution for us in the attacking side of the game. But hey, it all comes to being a bit adaptable too. You know, you could play at Brock on a Saturday and go to Western on a Sunday, and you go from the smallest pitch in the OUA to the largest pitch in the OUA. And each of those requires a certain level of detail. So sometimes it does require us to not necessarily change our playing style, but we may change some of our tactics in the game in order to accomplish the task, for sure.
And Antonio, I'm gonna finish off with a story because I like stories. So sit back, enjoy. Here we go. So semi-final 2016, we're playing Ryerson, and they got a very good coach, very well organized team. They had TFC players on there. They had really good team. They had the best defensive record in Canada. They conceded 4 goals the whole season, 4 goals in the OUA East, and they were playing Guelph, little old Guelph, the vet school agricultural people down the road, and we had an average of 3.76 goals scored per game. So we had the best offense in Canada, our record. They had the best defense, and game starts, and they defend like their lives depended on it. Like it was defense, and 0-0. We couldn't score. And then it went to overtime. 90 minutes, 0-0. And about 5 minutes into overtime, bang, 1-0 Guelph. And their coach went up, and off come 2 of the defensive midfielders, and on went 2 attackers. And I turned to my coaches on the bench and said, there it is. Now the knife's in. Boom. He's done. He's done. As soon as he went offensive, he was done. Because I knew they'd open up, and we were just too good going forward. And we ended up winning 3-0. So we almost got all 3.76 goals. And the minute they opened up, it was over. And I had a special team back then, and 4 of those players went on to play PL. So that tells you how good that team was at that particular time. And if I can't sleep at night, I don't count sleep. I dream of that, and it's great.
Okay, Shayne, Keith, listen, we've gone over time, but it was very enjoyable. So I want to thank both of you again, really, for helping myself and changing the culture and helping the kids understand what it's going to take to get to the university level, which will hopefully inspire them to change their habits, to change their outlook, to combine the academics with their athleticism, and also learn to be a well-rounded person in order to make the right decision when it's time. So I really want to thank you for that.
Thank you, and I'd like to thank you guys for having us. It's been an awesome night, and I never get tired of talking to athletes, and we've had some great questions. I really want to thank you, and I've known Dave a long time, and thanks, Dave, for not forgetting me and having me included. And I'll let Shayne have the last word, which is very rare.
Very rare.
This is a rare thing, everybody. So here it is. I'll tell you a couple things. 2 things I'll finish with. Number 1, you never should stop learning. So I'll show you, truthfully, if you can see it, there's my notebook. So I took notes on everything Keith said tonight, truthfully. I'm not being funny, because Keith's had a lot of experience in the game, a lot of know-how. So I'm scratching notes about things that he said, because I liked a couple things that he said. And you know what? I'm going to continue to learn to become a better coach. That should be your mindset as a player, 100%. And the second thing is that I actually think that people are choosing to stay home because the OUA is full of excellent institutions and top-notch coaches. Keith and I have colleagues across the OUA, and I can speak for Keith on this, that are top-notch coaches, and has nothing to do with the fact that they're in Ontario versus the US. I'm passionate about the OUA and Canadian sport at the varsity level. Our institutions prepare all of you for your 40 years after your 4 years of school. And we do it better than anybody else. And that's all of our OUA partners and institutions. And those people that we compete against, the coaches that Keith is mentioning, are amazing coaches with a huge resumes for years upon years. So you cannot go wrong. And I take my Guelph hat off to conclude and say all of the presentations you've heard, you cannot go wrong in a Canadian institution. You take the things to heart that Keith said, there'll be a spot for you if you're willing to put the work in. So thanks, Dave. Thanks to all of you as players. Really appreciate the time.